The inclusion of famous cryptids in Fallout 76 has been one of the best design decisions made for the game. It combines the uncertainties of wasteland living with the culture and folklore of the Appalachian region. So today, let's take a look at 7 cryptids that could potentially make an appearance in Fallout. We'll be going over their own folklore and legends, and I'll give my opinion on how I'd like to see them implemented in the game. Without further ado, let's get into it. The Waterford Sheepman. The first cryptid we'll be covering today is the Waterford Sheepman. The Waterford Sheepman is a lesser-known cryptid from the mid-Atlantic area, specifically tied to the town of Waterford, Pennsylvania. Described as a bizarre mix between a human and sheep, this creature has the body of a man, with the head and wool-covered chest of a sheep. The legend of the Waterford Sheepman dates back to the 1970s, when locals of Waterford reported strange sightings of a creature lurking in rural areas. One eyewitness account from Waterford native Herb Kinney reads, "It was always said the sheepman lived in a cave on Baghdad Road. He was known to frequent the covered bridge southeast of town on East Street. He was said to hide up in the rafters of the old bridge and jump down and terrorize young lovers that had parked on the bridge. 2 couples from Erie were traveling into the bridge late one summer night in a dark blue Ford Mustang convertible with the top down. It had started to sprinkle, so they pulled inside the bridge to put the top up when they were attacked. The boys fought off the creature and peeled out, filling the bridge with smoke from the burning rubber of their tires. The roof to the car was damaged, ripped, torn, and mangled to the point it had to be replaced. All 4 of the young people insisted the incident really did happen, telling the tale to their parents. The parents, fearing embarrassment, would not allow any police report to be filed. But this wasn't the only sighting, as the Goatman was known to tear apart the livestock of local farmers, feeding on the flesh and blood of their prey. As with many cryptids, however, skeptics will argue that the Sheepman is a misidentified animal, a prank, or a hoax. But that hasn't stopped the creature from becoming an integral part of Waterford's local lore. While quite similar to the sheep squatch, I think the Waterford Sheepman could make for an interesting new cryptid in Fallout 76, especially if it was part of a new expedition. We've seen something like this before with the Jersey Devil and Atlantic City. Perhaps an expedition to Lake Erie could see the wastelanders there struggling with a half-sheep, half-man mutant, terrorizing the area. They would request the aid of the responders and Vault Dweller from 76 to help. As the Waterford Sheepman shares some anatomy with humans, it would be a perfect lore fit with some sort of mutation or experiment gone wrong. While I do agree that the Waterford Sheepman might be a bit too similar to the sheep squatch to be an addition to the Appalachian wasteland, it could make for an interesting new foe in an expedition. The Grassman. Continuing the man trend, our next cryptid is the Kenmore Grassman, or simply just the Grassman. Despite the name, the Grassman is not part man, part grass. Instead, it gets its name from the habitat it lives in. The Grassman makes small hut-style nests out of tall grass. The Grassman is a tall, ape-like biped, similar to Bigfoot or the Sasquatch that patrols the woods of Ohio. However, unlike the elusive Bigfoot, it is said that the Grassman is the most aggressive species of the hairy humanoid creatures. Sightings of the Grassman date back centuries, with Native American tribes in the Ohio River Valley telling stories of large hairy men who roamed the forests. They called them the Wild Ones of the woods, and would leave food out as a peace offering to the beast. Still, there are more modern accounts, with one of the most infamous being reported in 1978 by the Clayton family. In August 1978, in the small village of Minerva, Ohio, the grandchildren of Evelyn and Howie Clayton ran into their home screaming and crying about seeing a hairy monster outside. When the couple went to investigate, they saw what the children had described: a tall, 300-pound beast with matted hair playing around in a pile of trash. This wouldn't be the Claytons' only encounter with the Grassman. The Claytons would catch the Grassman peering at them through their kitchen window one night. However, when Howie ran for his gun, the beast had disappeared before he returned. Police would get involved and search the area. However, the only signs of the creature were several faint footprints and a lingering smell in the air. Nothing more would come from the investigation. Though skeptics dismiss the Grassman as nothing more than a regional variant of the Bigfoot myth, believers claim that the Ohio Grassman is a distinct species. They claim that it is potentially even more dangerous due to its tendency to live closer to human habitats and its willingness to approach people more frequently than other cryptids of its kind. Just like the previously mentioned Waterford Sheepman, I think the Ohio Grassman could be another interesting Fallout 76 expedition cryptid. Because it's not necessarily local to West Virginia or the Appalachian wasteland, I think making it an expedition cryptid would be necessary. Although rather than making it an enemy to fight in the expedition or part of an expedition storyline, I think having the Grassman as a more passive, stalking type creature could be interesting. It would be cool if the player never actually interacted with the Grassman, rather all the sightings were from a distance, as if the hairy humanoid was stalking the player. It would give this eerie and mysterious feel that many of the Fallout 76 cryptids lack. The Ohio Grassman could make for a pretty creepy cryptid in Fallout 76. The Dueo. The Dueo or Dueo is a cryptid that originates from the forests of Maryland. Described as a bipedal wolf, the Dueo is quite similar to that of a werewolf, or even a cryptid that has already made an appearance in Fallout 76, the Blue Devil. Sightings of the Dueo go back to the early 20th century, though some suggest it could be much older, potentially tied to indigenous lore. Reports typically describe the Dueo as standing about 6 feet tall, covered in dark fur, and with a bushy tail. Legend states that the Dueo is a mortal rival to the more famous Snallygaster, a dragon-like beast also from Maryland folklore. It is said that the two creatures have clashed at some point in the past. One notable sighting came in 1965 when a man named John Becker described his encounter with the Dueo to local papers. It is said that Becker went to investigate his yard after hearing a strange noise. He was confronted by the beast. The Dueo allegedly came towards him, stood on its hind legs, and attacked him. Becker fought the creature until it ran into the woods. He described it as a bear with long black hair, a bushy tail, and a growl similar to a wolf or dog. Afterwards, more folks in the region came forward with their own accounts and experiences with the Dueo. However, just like all cryptids, skeptics claim that the Dueo is more likely a misidentified bear rather than a two-legged wolf. Now, while Fallout 76 already has its own bipedal wolf in the Blue Devil, I think there's some potential for the Dueo to make for an excellent new addition to the game. Dueo folklore states that it is an arch-nemesis of the Snallygaster, and as Fallout 76 already has the Snallygaster, I think it would make for a neat dynamic and maybe add some new lore implications. In order to avoid similarities with the Blue Devil, however, the Dueo would have to be redesigned a bit. Instead of making it a werewolf-like creature, I think it should be an FEV mutant similar to that of the Snallygaster. To comply with the Dueo folklore, maybe make it a dog-like mutant, maybe something like Scrappy-Doo from the live-action Scooby-Doo movie, but more Fallout-like. As for lore, perhaps FEV scientists made the Dueo for one reason or another, but a subject escaped at some point before the Great War, fleeing into the nearby forests. The scientists realized that they made a mistake, and so to fix it, they decided to genetically craft the snallygaster to take them out, or something along those lines. I think flavor-wise, it would definitely fit within Fallout 76's lore. The Cherokee Death Cat. We go from dogs to cats with this one. The Cherokee Death Cat, also known as the Wampus Cat, is a creature rooted in Cherokee folklore and has long been a notable legend in the Appalachian region. While descriptions vary, it is almost always described as some sort of feline. Most often, it is described as a massive panther or mountain lion-like beast with 6 legs and a tail that ends in a spiked ball. The death cat is said to stalk the forests and mountains, silently hunting its prey, usually livestock, before launching a deadly attack. There are many tales in Cherokee mythology that describe the Wampus Cat's origins. In one, it tells of a Cherokee woman who did not trust her husband. Her husband went out to hunt with his fellow warriors. Suspicious, the woman put on a mountain lion coat and went to spy on him. When she was found out, the medicine man punished her by forcing her to wear the skin forever, transforming her spirit into the Wampus Cat. Another tells of a witch or shapeshifter that uses the Wampus Cat form to steal livestock, such as chickens and pigs, from nearby farms. The most famous documented encounter of the Wampus Cat comes from TV personality Willie McQuillan of the show Mountain Monsters. Allegedly, when he was 9, one night, his parents told him to get something from their shed. As he did, he found himself face to face with a black panther-like creature with glowing eyes. The creature made a strange high-pitched hissing sound, which caused Willie to run back inside his house. Years later, on the same farm, he encountered the same kind of beast. As the Wampus Cat is the first actual Appalachian cryptid on this list, I think it would make for an excellent new addition to Fallout 76. Doubly so because of the lack of cat-like creatures in the game. We have plenty of wolf or dog-like cryptids like the Beast of Beckley or Blue Devil, but no feline cryptids. The Wampus Cat would change that. I envision the Wampus Cat as a relatively common random encounter at night in the forest, mire, or even the Skyline Valley regions of the Appalachian wasteland. It doesn't have to be a rare beast or one with a long quest line. It could just be a new creature type to fight. It would be a larger creature, maybe similar size to that of the snallygaster, and giving it a lingering stealth field at range would add to the stalking and prowling nature that mountain cats tend to have. With origins and folklore tied to the Appalachian region, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Wampus Cat was to eventually make an appearance in Fallout 76. The Hopkinsville Goblins. What? I thought this video was about Fallout, not the Elder Scrolls. What's this about some goblins? Not actually fantasy goblins. The Hopkinsville Goblins, also known as the Kelly-Hopkinsville Encounter, is one of the most famous cases of extraterrestrial sightings in the United States. The incident took place in August 1955 near Hopkinsville, Kentucky, when a family claimed that they were being besieged by small humanoid creatures for several hours during the night. The event has since become one of the most famous UFO and alien encounters. The event began on the evening of August 21, 1955, when members of the Sutton family, along with their friend Billy Ray Taylor, reported seeing strange lights in the sky around their rural farmhouse in Kelly, a small community near Hopkinsville. Billy Ray went outside to investigate and claimed to have seen a flying saucer land in a nearby field. Shortly after, the Sutton family began experiencing what would become known as the Hopkinsville Goblins. According to the witnesses, small goblin-like creatures began approaching the farmhouse from the surrounding woods. These beings were described as being around 3 or 4 feet tall, with oversized heads, long arms, large glowing eyes, and pointy ears. Their bodies appeared metallic or shiny, almost like aluminum. Fun fact, the Pokemon Sableye was inspired by the Hopkinsville Goblin description. Anyway, the Sutton family and their guests, armed with rifles and shotguns, fired at the creatures. However, the bullets seemed to have little to no effect, merely producing metallic sounds as they struck the beings. The siege reportedly lasted for hours, with the family barricading themselves inside the farmhouse, while the goblin-like creatures repeatedly approached the windows and roof. Eventually, the Sutton family managed to flee to the local police station where they reported the incident. A team of police officers and other locals returned to the farmhouse to investigate, but they found no trace of the creatures, only evidence of gunfire and the family's clear state of panic. Despite the lack of physical evidence, the witnesses' terror and consistency in their stories left a lasting impact on UFO researchers and the local community. Over the years, skeptics have proposed a variety of explanations for the Hopkinsville Goblins, including the possibility that the creatures were actually owls, whose large eyes, reflective feathers, and unusual behavior could explain some of the encounter. Others suggest mass hysteria, alcohol consumption, or a hoax as potential explanations. Nevertheless, the Sutton family and other witnesses maintained their story, and the event has become deeply ingrained in UFO lore. Now, while Fallout already has the Zaytan aliens, I do think adding a sort of quest, event, or encounter akin to the Hopkinsville encounter would be quite interesting. It could be a wave defense event, requiring players to work together to hold off continuous waves of alien invaders. While this might sound similar to the Invaders from Beyond seasonal event, I think this prospective event could be better ingrained into Appalachian lore. Perhaps a farmstead requests help after seeing some weird metallic glints in a forest near their house. I think something like this would fit well into the world of Fallout 76, while also adding a fascinating Easter egg into the game. Adding the Hopkinsville Goblins encounter into Fallout 76 would not only add another interesting group event, but it would also give a nod to one of the most infamous and unsettling UFO encounters in American history. The Whirling Wimpus. The Whirling Wimpus is another fascinating figure from American folklore. This creature is described as a large and hairy beast, often compared to the Bigfoot or the Yeti. However, unlike its more famous cousins, the Wimpus is said to have a unique, terrifying, and simultaneously hilarious ability. Supposedly, it spins at incredible speeds, creating a whirlwind of destruction as it moves through the forest, hence the whirling title. Many accounts of the Whirling Wimpus take place in remote and mountainous areas where the creature is said to reside. According to these tales, the Wimpus uses its spinning ability not only to disorient its prey, but also to evade detection. It is said that the rapid spinning makes it disappear into a blur of motion before anyone can get a clear look at it. You know, I wish I had this ability, to be honest. It just sounds so stupid. Witnesses who claim to have encountered the Wimpus describe it as having long, muscular limbs and thick fur that seem to blend into the environment. Its most distinguishing feature, however, is the sound it makes as it spins, a low rumbling noise that starts faintly and grows louder as the creature approaches. Some accounts suggest that the Wimpus uses its spinning motion to attack, striking with tremendous force and speed before retreating back into the trees. While skeptics would likely argue that the Whirling Wimpus is a product of overactive imaginations or confusion with other animals, the story remains. The creature has become a relatively niche cryptid in American folklore, with locals sharing sightings and warnings about venturing too deep into the woods, especially at night. I think the Whirling Wimpus would make for an excellent addition to Fallout 76's list of cryptids. Just like creatures like the Snallygaster and Grafton Monster, the Wimpus could be adapted into an FEV mutant. Rather than just being a large hairy beast like the Blue Devil, It could be reimagined as a mutated creature with enhanced speed and strength, giving it the spinning ability. I think it can make for a decent boss encounter like the Wendigo Colossus or the Ultrasight Titan. Players could launch a nuke in the forest region of Appalachia in order to summon the beast and start its associated event. The Wimpus's spinning attack could cause a whirlwind effect, knocking back players or creating gusts of wind that disorient them, or maybe even redirect gunfire. The creature's speed would make it hard to hit, forcing players to carefully time their attacks, or crippling the Wimpus's legs using VATS. I think encounters with the whirling Wimpus could leave a lasting impression due to the creature's unique mechanics and ferocity. With its ties to American mountain folklore and potential for exciting gameplay mechanics, the whirling Wimpus could become a pretty great Fallout 76 cryptid. The Knot Deer. The Knot Deer is a creepy Appalachian urban legend. It is a creature that is almost indistinguishable from an ordinary deer. However, accounts state that upon closer inspection, it becomes apparent that something is off about its appearance and behavior. These differences range from unnatural movements to behavior that could be better described as predatorial rather than that of a herbivore, like a normal deer. Documented sightings typically occur during the twilight or evening hours, as that's when its oddities are most noticeable. Many sightings, often from social media accounts, describe the knot deer as having more joints than a normal deer should have, eyes on the side of its head, and strange head shapes. They claim that the knot deer are not afraid of humans and may approach them. However, if provoked, they stand on their hind legs or even attack in order to scare off the aggressor. While skeptics claim that knot deer sightings are actually deer with birth defects or diseases, it doesn't stop folks from sharing their own knot deer sightings and experiences. Now, I think the knot deer would be a perfect addition to Fallout 76's already deep roster of cryptids. However, rather than calling it the knot deer, why not make it fit into the Fallout universe by calling it the Knot Radstag? I think it would make a great fit. The Knot Radstag could look like a typical radstag from a distance, but closer inspection would reveal deformities that reflect the knot deer folklore. For example, its limbs might bend at unnatural angles, and its head could have slight asymmetry, with one head showing signs of higher intelligence, such as more human-like eyes, or something along those lines. These subtle mutations would make players uncomfortable without being immediately obvious. Where regular radstags are typically passive creatures that flee from danger, the Knot Radstag could display a more aggressive nature. It might stalk the players in the woods, maintaining a distance until the player gets too close, at which point it would attack unexpectedly. This change in behavior would build tension, making players more cautious around creatures that would otherwise seem harmless. The Knot Radstag could have a unique sound to build suspense, such as distorted calls that mimic a radstag, but with a more twisted tone. Maybe it could be a random encounter during the night, or in foggy, low-visibility areas like the mire. The knot deer's unsettling nature would fit perfectly into Fallout 76's Appalachia setting. A Knot Radstag could be a fun addition to the game, and if done right, it could become one of Fallout 76's most memorable and unsettling creatures. And that wraps up 7 new cryptids that I think would fit well into Fallout 76. From new expedition creatures to an event that reflects a famous alien encounter, there's still plenty of new creatures and cryptids that could make an appearance in the Appalachian wasteland. Who really knows what's in those mountains anyway? But that's all from me today, folks. If you liked the video, be sure to share and subscribe. Are there any other American legends that you'd like to see in Fallout? Join the Discord. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.